passionately sung by the Ecuadorians, some with eyes closed, giving it plenty. But the anthems are now complete and the mascots are led away to the side of the pitch, and Enner Valencia works his way down past the refereeing contingent and shakes the hands of all the Dutch players. Let me remind you once again of the team news. 3 changes that Louis van Gaal makes to the Dutch side to beat Senegal. Jurgen Timber, Teun Koopmeiners and Davy Klaassen come in. Vincent Janssen, Steven Berghuis and Matthias de Ligt are the players replaced. Still a 3-4-1-2 that the Dutch are deploying. Andries Nopper, the goalkeeper. Jurgen Timber, Virgil van Dijk, Nathan Ake in the back 3. Denzel Dumfries and Daley Blind right and left in midfield, with Teun Koopmeiners and Frenkie de Jong in the middle. Davy Klaassen playing in behind Cody Gakpo and Steven Bergwijn up front. And as for Ecuador, 1 change of personnel and a change of system. They move from 4-3-3 to 3-5-2, possibly to try and combat and match up in various areas of the field with the Dutch. And that's why Gustavo Alvaro has left out Romario Ibarra and brought in an extra centre-half in Jackson Porozo. So they're now playing 3 at the back, in front of goalkeeper Hernan Galindez, Felix Torres, Piero Hincapié and Jackson Porozo. Angelo Preciado, Gonzalo Plata, Jackson Mendes, and the 2 Brighton players, Moises Caicedo and Pervis Estupiñán in midfield, with Michael Estrada and Enner Valencia up front. Our referee is Mustafa Ghoral from Algeria, at his first World Cup finals. He's refereed at the African Cup of Nations and done World Cup youth tournaments, but it's as much a step up for the referees as it is for the players, Dean Ashton, when they get bumped up to a full-on World Cup.
Oh, absolutely. And also with, you know, certain stipulations, new things that they need to maybe look at, whether they've been implemented as much as we maybe thought, looking at the blocking, etc. I'm not too sure, but you're right. Even the referees know how big a stage this is.
Even before we get underway, given that result we've just brought you on TalkSport 2 with the commentary, Senegal beating Qatar, I would be inclined to think this is a more crucial game for Ecuador, given that they've got Senegal last of all in the group. They need to try and keep pace with the Senegalese.
Yes, they do, and it would probably be favourable for them to be maybe a point ahead, even if they were to get a draw here against the Netherlands. I think just to be able to have that extra point, knowing they could possibly draw the game. But this isn't going to be easy for either side. You know, I think both of these sides are more than capable of winning this game, which can't be said of every game we've seen in the World Cup.
I am liking the Dutch kit this year, the slightly mottled gold shirts that they wear. They're very trendy indeed. Ecuador have changed their strip from what you and I saw at Al Bayt, Dean, on opening night. They're wearing dark blue shirts with white shorts and socks, and they're kicking from right to left as we look. Coming to you live from Doha on TalkSport 2 as the Netherlands and Ecuador get underway. And of course the orange of the Dutch shirts, shorts and socks. You couldn't complain that you wouldn't be able to find a teammate on the other side of the pitch because you couldn't see him.
No, of course. So distinctive, isn't it? Great to see the pockets of both sets of supporters. The orange, of course, of the Netherlands, and that bright yellow of Ecuador that we saw on opening night.
A chance for a clearance downfield, but Felix Torres makes a bit of a haulix of it, but he's helped out by Preciado, who, as Dean mentioned, was very impressive at right back in the first game, now playing at right wing back tonight, so he's got even more licence to get downfield. Valencia is dispossessed, and a chance for the Dutch to break down the right hand side with a great sliding challenge by Hincapié to stop it getting down the right hand side for Holland. But it's played back to Nathan Ake, midway point of his own half. Virgil van Dijk takes it off him. Always plays the game his own pace, Virgil van Dijk, no doubt about that. Ake can bring the ball up to halfway, clips it just to his left for Daley Blind. Van Dijk again, he's got Timber just to his right hand side. Picked up again in midfield by Blind. Gakpo tries to get a touch, works it back into midfield. Frenkie de Jong plays the ball out to Daley Blind, who's got Preciado watching his every move, so he has to go back to Ake. The Dutch are kicking from left to right as we look towards the Ecuadorian fans at the right hand end of the Al Khalifa Stadium. Loose pass from Van Dijk, collector's item there as it goes for an Ecuadorian throw. 0-0.
Yeah, and if they're not going to press high, Ecuador, then a big feature for the Netherlands is that back three. And also when they're in possession and they look to switch between the back three, they come right across, and Timber or Ake will almost look like a fullback, and then it allows the wing back to almost become a winger. They can get really high up the pitch and try and get them involved in forward play.
I do hope Timber goes down in instalments at some point during the game. Sorry,
You've gone early.
I know. I couldn't help it, Dean.
Gone
I'm
early.
so sorry. Netherlands 0, Ecuador 0 on TalkSport 2 at the World Cup, with England coming later against the USA. Can Gareth Southgate's men go 2 from 2? Chance for these two nations to get 6 points out of 6. After the Netherlands left it late to see off Senegal, Ecuador really had it wrapped up by midway point of the second half against Qatar on opening night. And Preciado, who we were just picking up a moment or so ago, has gone down with an injury. I'm not sure whether it's to his hip or to his thigh or his groin in actual fact, but he seems in some distress and is sitting down on the turf, and this would be a big blow for Ecuador if he couldn't continue, Dean Ashton.
It would. Did we not see him pick up an injury towards the middle part of that second half against Qatar? He seemed to pick up a strange injury as he went in for a challenge, unless it is just that he's obviously been caught.
I don't think he caught one in the unmentionables that I saw, but he's down and sat down, so bit of a lull in proceedings as Preciado has the physios out there pulling him back to his feet, and he's moving without too much difficulty back towards the far touchline, so I guess we'll see him in short order. Meanwhile, Gonzalo Plata's getting ready to take a throw for Ecuador at 0-0. Louis van Gaal, 71 years young, and it's his third spell in charge of the Dutch, and he's unbeaten, Dean, in 16 matches since he got back in charge, and they've scored in every game as well. But they're up against an Ecuador side who are now, over 11 hours and 36 minutes without conceding.
I think they look reinvigorated, don't they, the Netherlands under Van Gaal, and he does as well almost. And they've come into this tournament, I think, very much not really anyone's, maybe even dark horses.
Almost given away there to Klaassen. It might drop for Gakpo! Oh, what a start for Holland! He's at it again! Cody Gakpo struck with his left foot from the edge of the area. Klaassen won the ball. Gakpo took over, let fly with his left. Fantastic finish for 2 in 2 World Cup games. What a star this young man is going to be. Cody Gakpo on the mark again for the Dutch. It is the Netherlands 1, Ecuador 0, and the Ecuadorians' goal finally breached after nearly 12 hours.
A young player, absolutely at the top of his game, brimming full of confidence after that goal in their opening match. You're right, Klaassen took the ball originally, but then Gakpo just snatched it off him on the edge of the box, and he just pulled it to the left-hand side of that 18-yard box, and then just fired it really low and hard into that near post. It was past the goalkeeper before he could even begin to imagine a save. What a fantastic strike that was.
It was still rising when it hit the back of the net. Always a good sign. Wonderful hit from Cody Gakpo. So one with his head and one with his left foot so far at this World Cup. And the Dutch are off and running. 6.5 minutes gone on TalkSport 2. And Ecuador, having conceded, as I say, for the first time in well over 11.5 hours. It's a very unfamiliar feeling for the South Americans. Let's see how they respond.
I absolutely love the way Gakpo very quickly realised the situation just outside the box, and he kind of almost went across to Klaassen and just totally took control of the situation. Took it upon himself to then drag it to the left and just strike with his left foot without really probably even thinking. He was just had that one thing in his mind: this is me, I'm going to do it. And it was fantastic, and because he took it so early, the goalkeeper just couldn't react quick enough.
Jackson Mendes trying to come forward for Ecuador, plays into the centre of the field, it almost broke for Plata. Preciado takes over to number 17 in direct confrontation. Preciado against Blind. Preciado works it back to Mendes. His early cross into the box is dealt with by Ake, but it's taken over by Valencia. He goes down. No foul, says the Algerian referee. And the ball swung back into the box neatly by Hincapié. Went beyond everybody. Everyone was stood like statues watching the ball fly over their heads. And eventually the Dutch clear up to halfway, where Ecuador have it back. 1-0 to Louis van Gaal's men.
Yeah, good response from Ecuador, looking to get up the pitch actually. I was surprised at the start of the game they just sat right off the Netherlands and allowed them to have possession. And if you give Van Dijk and Ake and Timber the time to pick a pass, which they managed to do up towards Klaassen, then they will cause you problems. I'd much prefer to see this Ecuadorian team be energised and press and harry.
Fastest goal so far at this 2022 World Cup. 5 minutes and 4 seconds for Cody Gakpo to put the Netherlands in front, and we played 8.5 minutes now on TalkSport 2. The ball is with the Ecuadorian back three. It's worked back to the keeper, Hernan Galíndez, making his 14th appearance, made his World Cup debut against Qatar. Only made his debut for Ecuador in last season's Copa America. Plays it up to Valencia, who's dropped deep, just shy of the halfway line. Goes back to the three centre-halves. Torres just looking for an option. He's got Capio just down to this left-hand side. That was good challenging from Denzel Dumfries. That was one feature we were talking about, Dean Ashton. Anybody tries to use width on either side, then they've got a direct opponent they've got to try and get past first.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really good battle, certainly on this near side between Estepinian and Dumfries. Both very athletic, both want to get forward, probably more so than thinking defensively. And then slightly different challenge on the other side, Blind and Preciado.
Now Valencia goes down with the referee. Oh, there was a chance to play an advantage there as Valencia was fouled. They worked it away down the left-hand side, but before Estepinian could get anywhere near the ball, the referee had blown the whistle, so Ecuador have a free kick almost at the midway point of the Dutch half. It was a foul by Timber, trying to reach to get the ball from behind Eder Valencia, couldn't get there, so Mendes will stand over this free kick with 10 minutes gone on TalkSport 2. He plays it square to the edge of the centre circle, where it's picked up by Barroso, out to Preciado on the right hand side. Deep cross to the far post, headed down, and by Estepinian, driven towards goal, but good save in the end. It was Plato who tried to get the shot away. Of course, kept in play on this near side somehow by Gakpo, I think, who was making incredible strides to this near touchline and backheeled it to keep it in play. And the ball's back with Andries Nopper. Ake plays the ball up to halfway. And the Dutch will have it back. Work back to Ake once again, under pressure at the corner of his own area from Estrada, who the assistant says fouled him, but the referee says play on because the Dutch are still in possession. Dumfries clipped across, looking for Daley Blind, but Preciado got in front of him, headed it away, but couldn't latch onto his own header, and Ake tidies up. 1-0 to the Dutch.
The only issue with Ecuador, and especially their forward players, Eder Valencia and Estrada, they're both really happy to come deep So then brilliant bit of work from Preciado to win that header, but neither of the forwards are on top of their centre-backs because they've drifted into a space where they want to come short to play. So at least one of them's got to look to try and occupy one of the centre-backs.
Preciado again for Ecuador, who trail by 1-0. Out to the right-hand side for Plata, but Ake very calmly gets in front of him, between him and the ball, and clears back to his keeper. They're looking for Bergwijn on halfway, and he's adjudged to have been fouled, or will have fouled rather, against Jackson Porozo. So Hincapié picks up the loose ball for Ecuador. Up to halfway. Here's Pervis Estepinian of Brighton. Has to go back into the middle of his own half, being pressurised all the way by Dumfries, who's gone with him man for man. Now Torres at the edge of his own penalty area, up to the edge of the centre circle. Well held up by Estrada, and a lovely ball out to Preciado on the right hand side. But heavy touch allowed Blind to get a piece of it, and the ball breaks eventually back for Ecuador, just ahead of their own penalty area.
Yeah, they'll pick their moments to press, the Dutch will, and when they do, like I said, one of the centre-backs tends to step out, so then when you try and play through, you're outnumbered in midfield, and they do it very, very well under Van Gaal. But they pick their moments. They don't tend to do it all the time, but when they do, they're very aggressive in the nature.
Torres, who's playing as the centre of the three centre halves, Poroso to his right, Hincapié to his left for Ecuador. His ball up to halfway is won back by the Dutch, and then Dumfries goes down under pressure from Estepinian, and it's a free kick. Cody Gakpo, then the second Dutch player to score in his first two World Cup appearances. Memphis Depay also achieved that feat, and we're just seeing a replay again of the goal, and I hope I did it justice in commentary when the goal went in, because it's such a sweet strike with the left foot. It's swerving inside the post, almost impossible to save, and it actually hit the towel that Hernan Galindez had hanging up in the back of the net, almost like it was something to aim at. Ball into the Ecuadorian area, cleared away somewhat hurriedly by Hincapié.
Yeah, that does annoy me, Dan, that actually, as a former striker, when really you want to see the net ripple as it should do, not it hit a towel.
Here's Eder Valencia jinking down the left hand side. Nobody in the box for him to cross to, and he's trying to get the better of Turdier. And Timber did get the better of him, and Valencia looks a little rattled as he goes back into position.
Yeah, I mean the days are long gone of Eder Valencia dribbling past, I think, the centre backs, especially Timber, who's got plenty of pace himself.
Scored Ecuador's last 5 World Cup goals going back to their 2014 campaign in Brazil. They didn't play in Russia, Ecuador. Of course, the Dutch have been absent for major tournaments as well, though they did play at Euro 2020 last summer in that delayed tournament. Went out to the Czech Republic. That's when Louis van Gaal was brought back. But I understand that Ronald Koeman is going to retake the manager's position, because Van Gaal, at the age of 71, he revealed this year he was suffering from prostate cancer, and I'm sure would like the time to get the treatment and get the relaxation and R&R that he would need. But he's out here on business, and they're doing the business so far, Dean Ashton. They're 1-0 up, we play quarter of an hour.
Yeah, and they're starting to get real control. Ecuador don't look like they want to press high, so they're allowing the Netherlands to have plenty of the ball, and they'll be really patient with it, especially now they're 1 goal ahead. They'll play it around at the back, they'll frustrate. If the opportunity comes to play forward, they will, but they'll be in no rush whatsoever to do that.
It's actually somewhat unusual to see Ecuador not pressing high. It's been one real feature of what they've done, particularly at home in their World Cup qualifiers, when they play at altitude, of course, back home, where they did keep a very high line. But you're right, Dean, they're dropping a good deal deeper than they did against the Qataris that we saw at the start of the tournament.
Well, I think they've obviously shown huge respect in the fact that they've changed that system to match them up. I think that says a lot about probably the threat that the Dutch pose and how they feel they have to play in this system to negate that, but it obviously didn't work very long.
A reminder, with the scores like this, it would mean a straight shootout for second place between Senegal and Ecuador, with the Netherlands playing Qatar. And you don't imagine that the Netherlands are going to drop points against the hosts. So we are, at this stage, Dean Ashton, edging towards one hell of a confrontation between South America and Africa to make it into the round of 16. And you remember Senegal were denied by the fair play rule getting into the round of 16 of the last World Cup by Japan, who picked up less bookings. Ball's out play for a Dutch throw on this near side. 1-0 to the Netherlands. We played 17 and a half minutes on TalkSport 2 at the World Cup. Ian Danter and Dean Ashton with you. We'll be off to the Albite on TalkSport this evening. Adrian Durham, Jim Bradford, Stuart Pearce, Baker Others and the team will bring you England against the USA. Ball's at the edge of the Ecuadorian penalty area. Felix Torres got it clear to Estepinian, but he couldn't control it, so the ball got off the outside of his boot and went out for a throw to the Dutch, gradually making progress down this near touchline at 1-0 up.
It doesn't suit them, does it, Ecuador? The way they've played so far, it just doesn't look right. You know, they were so energetic, they were fantastic at the start of that game against Qatar, and I know this is a different opposition, but I don't know, they just don't look as if they're enjoying it. And I know they're one behind, but what I mean is enjoying that work, enjoying putting pressure on the opposition. Just sat back, and it's very flat in that sense from...
Well, you've reminded me of something Ray Parler said to me once when we were covering the Netherlands against Brazil in South Africa, when the Netherlands came back from a goal down, and Ray said for about an hour the Netherlands didn't believe they could beat Brazil. They didn't believe in themselves enough. Maybe that's Ecuador's issue at the moment, that they're not quite on song as they should be.
But also that can a little bit be down to the coach himself.
Listeners from TalkSport, join us at the Al Khalifa Stadium. It is the Netherlands 1, Ecuador 0. The fastest goal of the World Cup so far. 5 minutes and 4 seconds had gone when Cody Gakpo got his second of the tournament, and a sweet left-footed strike from just outside the area after Davy Klaassen had won the ball in a dangerous area, taking the ball off an Ecuadorian defender's toe. And Dean Ashton, you would have been rightly proud of that finish from Gakpo had that been you.
Yeah, just a bit. It was a fantastic strike. He totally took charge of the situation, took the ball off Davy Klaassen, pulled it to the left-hand side, and then just hammered it past the goalkeeper. And he is just one of those rising stars that I think every club around the world will be looking at the moment. And we were just saying about Ecuador, they don't look like they did in that first game. You spoke about maybe the mentality of whether they believe or not, and so far they don't look like they do, and that sometimes can be down to the manager. If you talk about how good the opposition is over and over again, you as players start to believe it.
Yeah, they've changed their system, Ecuador, to a 3-5-2 tonight, and it seems to have changed their desire. They've just conceded a free kick in the midway point of their own half as Denzel Dumfries comes barrelling in from the right-hand touchline, but it's all going Louis van Gaal's way so far at the Al Khalifa Stadium. Commentary continues on TalkSport 2 with myself, Ian Danter and Dean Ashton. At the moment, though, with 20 minutes gone, it is the Netherlands 1, Ecuador 0. Waiting on the bench, Memphis Depay, just back from a hamstring injury that threatened his inclusion in the World Cup squad. Probably hoping he gets a chance sooner rather than later, but that's not his decision. Ball's back with Hernan Galindez, the Ecuadorian goalkeeper. We're approaching the midway point of the first half on TalkSport 2. Good header on halfway line from the Dutch, but it will break for Ecuador in the centre circle, and then there was a foul on Michael Estrada. The foul was by Koopmeiners of Atalanta, one of the three players that Van Gaal brought in today. And it's a free kick that Jegson Mendes, he's one of the players that's walking the yellow card tightrope. There's three out there. De Ligt, of course, he's not out there. For the Dutch, so it is only Jackson Mendes and Moises Caicedo of Ecuador who run the risk of a suspension in the final game if they get booked in this one. Now, Dumfries again working really hard to try and win the ball back, coming in field from that right wing back position against his opposite number Estepinian, but he worked too hard to try and win it back on that occasion.
And they will do that, the Dutch. They will spring out of their natural position. One will at least be allowed to go and really put pressure on the player on the ball, because they know they've then got that cover of the extra centre-back to come across, or one of the low-lying midfield players will just fill in for them. It's a real key feature of Van Gaal's team.
Well, they've been deadly accurate so far, have the Netherlands. 3 goals from 4 efforts on target so far at this World Cup. Not too shabby, you would say. Here's Felix Torres at the back for Ecuador. Plays a 1-2 with Jackson Mendes. That drives the ball downfield, but that's a pretty poor pass from Felix Torres. Was way away from Michael Estrada and just skipped through off the surface back to Andreas Nopper. This extraordinary story of the Heerenveen goalkeeper who made his debut against Senegal. Went back to his hometown club in May. 2 years ago ahead Eagles. 28 having made his Dutch debut. No Jesper Cillessen at this World Cup. And apparently when he found out he was not in Louis van Gaal's 23, the air turned blue.
I bet. No Tim Krul, penalty specialist.
Indeed, you're right. He was brought on to save penalties at the World Cup. Now here come Costa Rica. Here come Ecuador down the right-hand side, looking for Eder Valencia with a cross. Comes out to Caicedo, drives it against the Dutch midfielder Koopmeiners. Wanted a handball, but there's no way that there was an intentional handball. Oh, lovely work by Caicedo. Plays a 1-2 with Valencia into the area, pulls it back, just won't drop for Plata inside the box. And the Dutch survive, but it is an Ecuadorian throw. 1-0 Holland.
Much better from Ecuador. Lovely play, quick movement, quick passing. But Virgil van Dijk, absolutely brilliant. He just reads it perfectly. He sees that Caicedo has only got one place to actually pass it back when he gets to the byline, and that's backwards. And he just steps across, reads it, and clears. Brilliant defending from the Liverpool man.
But it is still a long throw, just about level with the edge of the penalty area for Ecuador. They take it short. Estepinian gets it back down the left-hand side of the area for Plata. Drives it across the 6-yard line. And it's cleared away by Dumfries, who is in there. But Ecuador still have it. Left-hand corner of the box. Neat touch from Estepinian. Gets it back from Plata. Still gets to the byline. Lovely cross. Headed away by Van Dijk at the far post. Just to keep it away from attackers that were coming in at the far post. They've got the tails up now, Ecuador, despite being 1-0 down. Here's Plata, centre of the Dutch half. Plays a couple of 1-2s, and then Valencia loses out. And it's sent downfield asking Gakpo to give chase, but that's overhit. And will just roll through to Hernan Galindez. But that's better from the South Americans, Dean Ashton.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe it just needed to take something like that. A good bit of play, just to give them a bit of confidence. And again, it's down the sides where I think they're most likely to get some joy. Ecuador first down the right-hand side, and then secondly down the left.
Talk about that clean sheet record that Ecuador have now lost, having conceded here to the Netherlands. But Estrada's writhing in agony, having been caught by Timber just inside the Dutch half. Free kick given. I don't think there's going to be any further punishment for Timber for that challenge. He certainly wrapped his legs, not quite a scissor challenge on Estrada, but not far off.
No, he's probably a bit lucky actually not to pick up a yellow card, I think, especially when you come from the wrong side now and you kick through the leg to try and get the ball.
I was mentioning the clean sheet record. The Dutch are trying to go for 5 successive clean sheets if they don't concede today. And in the World Cup history, only Italy in 1990 in one tournament have achieved that, 5 clean sheets. The Swiss managed it in between Germany 2006 across into South Africa 2010. But the Dutch have been very, very miserly at the back, much like Ecuador, but they have the lead here. 26 minutes gone on TalkSport, but they've given up possession to Ecuador. Valencia, little touch trying to get Estepinian away by Plata, but it was well won back for the Dutch. And Koopmeiners felt he was fouled, nothing doing, says the referee. It's played down the left-hand side of the Dutch area. Valencia pulls it back, drops to the far post, just gets away from Preciado. Has it again, wins a corner off Ake. And Ecuador are pressing again away to our left-hand side. 1-0 to the Netherlands.
Yeah, Estepinian starting to look a real threat down the left-hand side. Played a great ball to Enner Valencia, who then just played it in. He pretty much played it in blind, really, nice and low, and there was a flick in there from Estrada, and then Preciado tried to get the cross in, and it was blocked by Ake, but so much better from Ecuador.
So the corner kick on the right-hand side for Ecuador. Chance for them to work something into the penalty area. They've got a clutch of players, like the two centre-halves, or the three centre-halves, were all up from the back. Torres and Poroso and Hincapié in a look train around the penalty spot. Saw that from England 4 years ago. In it comes from Plata into the near post. Can't find Caicedo. It's gone straight out of play for a throw-in rather than a corner out on that far side. Yeah,
he was doing that the other night, Plata. He was so frustrating. 1 minute he would be dribbling past players and look really exciting. The next minute the delivery, whether it be a set play or just in open play, he was really disappointing. That's the same. There's no point getting on that train in the box if then that ball doesn't arrive for you to go and attack it.
Diagonal ball into the left-hand corner of the box. It was well headed across by Estepinian, but offside flag went up against Estrada. And it's a free kick to the Dutch, who lead by a goal to nil as we approach the half-hour mark on TalkSport 2. Tomorrow, 4 more games. Tunisia, Australia here on TalkSport 2 at 10 a.m. with Mark Wilson and David Connolly. And then over on TalkSport we've got 3 games back-to-back for you after that. I'll get back to that in a moment because the Dutch were just threatening to break through. A through ball almost found its way through to Gakpo, but Ecuador will get it away. Still breaks Bergwijn on the far left-hand side. Good strong running field, but well won back by the Ecuadorians. Koopmeiners goes in to try and win it back. Now Bergwijn into the area, twisting and turning, looking for support. Poroso tries to win it back. It's rolled back to the edge of the area in class, and now out to Blint, left-hand side. Early cross, Torres missed it. Hincapié didn't put it behind for a corner kick to the Netherlands, who lead by a goal to nil.
And that all just came because of that first-time attempted pass. Brilliant from Frenkie de Jong into Klaassen, who just gets his head up and then is looking for the pace of Bergwijn and Gakpo in behind. And then they picked up the second ball, played it wide, and looked to be dangerous through Bergwijn.
There's a bit of ill-mannered pushing and shoving. Van Dijk and Poroso are at the centre of it all. There's a whole clutch of players moving in and around each other as Gakpo sends in the corner kick. Out go the heads. Torres got the first touch to it, and Valencia can bring it away. Trying to play it downfield, asking Plata to give chase, but the Dutch tidy up at the back. And half an hour has elapsed at the Al Khalifa Stadium next to Torch Tower, just on the outskirts of Doha, and it is the Netherlands 1, Ecuador 0. As I mentioned, tomorrow Poland against Saudi Arabia, the conquerors of Argentina. That is 1 o'clock with Alex Trulkin. You're doing that one as well, Dean, on commentary. And then France-Denmark at 4 o'clock on TalkSport with Joe Shannon and Dean Saunders, who was watching Wales surrender late on to Iran today. And then Argentina, who we just mentioned, are taking on Mexico at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Nigel Adley and Stuart Pearce, your commentary. Plus game day breakfast live from Qatar on TalkSport with Natalie Sawyer and Tony Cascarino, 6 till 10. And we've got some FA Cup action tomorrow, live on TalkSport 2 here, round 2 from noon. Kings Lynn against Stevenage. John Dunn and Adrian Clark will be your commentary team for that one. And we've got the final couple of games in the Autumn Series Internationals, with England in action at 5:30 against South Africa. Before that, 2:45 Wales against Australia. 1-0 here to the Netherlands, but Ecuador clip the ball out to the left-hand side. Neat ball to find Ena Valencia. Got Denzel Dumfries backpedaling. Gets to the edge of the area. Good shot, good save. Turn round the post by Andries Nopper. First shot on target from Ecuador. It's forced the corner.
Yeah, it was really incisive from Ena Valencia. It was a switch across to him on the left-hand side, and he just drove straight at Dumfries. Shimmy to go to the left, ducked inside to the right, and took a strike straight away to the right-hand side of Noba. Got down really well. It was a simple save in the end, but just pushed it out to his right-hand side and out of danger.
Estepinian with the resulting corner. Left-footed out-swinger from the Brighton man. Flicked away by Bergwijn, who was back defending. Mendes is the last man back for Ecuador. Puts a diagonal ball intended for Estepinian down this near left-hand side, but he was offside, and the Dutch will get a free kick. So we have at least seen signs, Dean Ashton, in the last 10 minutes that Ecuador, having been a little bit playing within themselves almost for the first quarter, have got signs of life with 32 minutes gone.
Also, I think what's a big feature of the Ecuadorian side is that the sort of two number 8s as such, Plata and Caicedo especially, they really have license to go and try and cause them overloads. We didn't see that early on in the half, and where they've got a bit of joy in the last 10 or so minutes is when they do that. And as soon as they do that, it then leaves the space for Valencia and possibly Estrada, and they've got a bit of joy, but it's taking that risk, isn't it? It's stepping out of your position to go.
Ake drives downfield for the Dutch. Blind clips it down the left-hand side looking for Klaassen, but across comes Peroso and puts it out of play, and it'll be a throw that Daley Blind will take down the left-hand side. Son of Danny Blind. Scored one at Brazil 2014, Daley Blind. His last goal came just after that World Cup in November. Been waiting an awful long time to notch again. The left wing back for Holland. Here's Klaassen turning the ball into the feet of Bergwijn. Good touch from him. De Jong shovels the ball out to this near side, and Dumfries, who's faced up immediately by Estepinian, so he plays it down the right hand side looking for the run of Gakpo, but it's over here. Willing run from Cody Gakpo, but it's a goal kick to Ecuador. 1-0 to the Netherlands.
Have you not found in this World Cup, when the balls are sort of played down the sides or over the top, normally you think, oh, that might stay in. They don't here. They just don't. It's whether the surface or how they've watered them, whatever it is, it just skids through, it just rolls through quickly. Players just can't catch it.
Here's Nkapie with a long ball downfield straight onto the head of Virgil van Dijk, but the second ball drops for Ecuador on halfway, picked up by Valencia, wriggles away from a couple of challenges, but then Koopmeiners steps in with a strong foot to win it back. De Jong tried to stroke it up to halfway. One back by Ecuador. There's dark blue shirts coming forward here as it's in the inside right channel with Jackson Mendes. Holds his run for a moment. Finds Caicedo. He looks for his Brighton teammate Estepinian. Midway point of the Dutch half, left-hand side. Diagonal ball into the box. Keeper goes up and claims well. He's a big man. Andries Nopper. He's got to be 6'6", 6'7", and he was always going to be Preciado to claiming that cross.
It was far too easy for him, wasn't it? Estepinian, I think he's got to work harder there. You can't just float that up. That's got to either be played in and try and get it wider.
Well, here's Ena Valencia pulling out to the left-hand side once again, trying to get the better of Gakpo, who was defending for a moment, but Gakpo stuck to his task well, and Holland win it back. Gakpo keeps it in play on this near side, and then throw is one as Nkapie is forced to put the ball out of play under pressure from Dumfries. 36 minutes gone on TalkSport 2 at the Al Khalifa Stadium here in Qatar. The World Cup live on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. Bringing England against the USA over on TalkSport later. If England win, they're through. And then we'll see what happens in the final round of matches. And remember, once it gets to the third group stage games, each group plays its last two fixtures at the same time. And of course, when it comes to that, we'll put fixtures across TalkSport and TalkSport 2. On groups A to H finish. Valencia, oh, it's actually Caicedo. Felt he was fouled, put his hand on the ball, but the foul had gone the other way. And Frenkie de Jong, I think he's trying to say to the referee, aren't you going to book him for that? But he's not. It's just a free kick.
Does Caicedo know that if he gets a yellow card, he misses the last game?
He must do.
Exactly. I don't know why he's getting involved. You know, that whatever happens, I'm sure will turn out to be an important game, and you don't want to miss it through something as silly as that.
I mean, he's only 20 years of age, but I'm sure his manager, who's vastly experienced, Gustavo Alvaro, who's a youthful man at 60 compared to his opposite number tonight at 71, but no doubt he will have explained to him the importance of keeping his head. But he didn't get booked. But here's the ball up to the edge of the Ecuadorian area. That's a brilliant challenge from Hincapié to keep it away from Dumfries, who once again had pushed in field from the right hand side, and Piero Hincapié, last ditch challenge, just toe poked it away from Dumfries. But it is still Dutch possession on this near side, the right. Bergwijn will flick round the corner attempted by De Jong, but it doesn't come off. And here come Ecuador with Caicedo down the left hand side. Just checks his run for a moment, rolls it back to Estepinian on halfway. They just slow the attack down for a moment, Ecuador. That means the Dutch players have got pretty much everybody they want behind the balls. One back, rolled up to Bergwijn. Can't get away from Hincapié. In fact, the referee delayed his whistle, said there was a foul on Steven Bergwijn, who only ever scored 8 goals in the best part of 100 appearances at Spurs. I guess he'll forever be remembered for those 2 late goals at Leicester to turn the game around. But he's at Ajax now. He scored 11 goals this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really been involved. When he has looked sharp, but he's not looked a threat. He's not looked a goal threat. I mean, the Dutch haven't actually played very well, have they? Not really. It's not like they're creating many chances at all.
They've just had no chances.
They've just been so clinical with that Gakpo goal. But they've not played particularly any fluid football or looked particularly threatening. Well, it's out on the left-hand side with Daley Blind, trying to get Klaassen away towards the corner flag. Tries to pull it back, hits it against Poroso, who's out there defending. It goes out of play for a throw. Klaassen was the man on the spot to get the second goal after a little mistake from Mendy in the Senegalese goal. That's what made it 2-0. Ecuador trying to bring it away. Ake with some good defending inside the Ecuadorian half, but the South Americans have it once again with Pervis Estepinian. Plays it back for Felix Torres. Now it goes out to Poroso, plays his club football in Liga with Troyes. Was in the team of the tournament as he won the under-20 South American Championships. Jackson Poroso, he's only 22. And he's not played a competitive international before tonight. So a lot of faith being shown in him by his manager Gustavo Alvaro. Yeah, it's a huge factor. Is the youth of this Ecuador side. I mean, already the players that have moved to big clubs, and I think after this World Cup as well, I think there'll be even more that'll be looking at their players.
That's always an interesting one, buying a player on the strength of seeing a minimum of 3 games at a World Cup.
Oh, how often have we seen it?
Well, you know and I know the history of the Premier League is littered with poor choices, let's have it right, made on the basis of 3 games at World Cup. My club's been guilty of it.
I think every supporter's thinking back now, yeah, we've had one.
At least one. In my club's case, I go back to 1978, and of course, our dealers in Villa from Argentina, having won the World Cup, go to Spurs and sweep all before them. We get Alberto Tarantini, who made about 14 appearances, almost as many red cards. Didn't last long Wesley Sneijder in the crowd tonight, who is part of that Dutch side that got all the way to the final in South Africa, only to lose to the Spanish. Edgar Davids looking on too at the Al Khalifa Stadium, where it's 1-0 to the Dutch. But Ecuador have shown a bit more of it in the last 15 minutes. There's 4 to half time. They're trying to get away down the right hand side of the area, as Caicedo breaking down the right this time couldn't get there in time because Nopper was right on the scene, the Dutch keeper.
I think they've been the better side, just slightly, Ecuador. After a slow start, I feel like they've definitely been the one that's been pushing and trying to create the chances. The Dutch have been happy just to kind of sit there and let the game tick along.
Oh, Valencia was caught offside there, so a free kick once again to Louis van Gaal's Netherlands as we edge towards half-time on TalkSport 2 here in the World Cup. Ian Danter and Dean Ashton with you, bringing you Netherlands 1, Ecuador 0. And Van Dijk plays the free kick square from just outside his own penalty area across to the left. Ake. This is the ball, then slides it up to halfway. Neat turn by De Jong, good run through the middle, but he runs into 3 Ecuadorian shirts. And in fact there was a handball in there as well. It's a good run from Frenkie de Jong though, wasn't it? And he's had a problematic time at Barcelona, Dean Ashton. Poor Frenkie de Jong, he's felt like almost an outcast there, but he's still on the books.
Yeah, he is. He's still a wonderful player.
Crossfield ball into the area, comfortable claim by Galindez, although Bergwijn put his hands on the back of his head. I think he feels he should have made more of an effort.
Yeah, possibly. And there was almost a mix-up as well between Ngapié and Galindez, but he handled it well. But just going back to De Jong, yeah, it must be really difficult for him to almost feel as if the club you probably dreamt of playing for possibly wants to get rid of you, or you're surplus to requirements, and it's an unusual and difficult situation.
Here's Jackson Mendes, just shy of the centre circle inside his own half. We're in the last minute of normal time on TalkSport 2 in this first half. If you're just tuning in, Netherlands 1, Ecuador 0. Cody Gakpo with the fastest goal of the tournament so far in the 6th minute. And he gave Netherlands the lead with 6 minutes to go against Senegal. Nice bit of symmetry there. As down the left-hand side comes Gonzalo Plata. Felt he was barged into. Nothing doing, says the Algerian referee. And Denzel Dumfries brings the ball clear, fires it up into the feet of Bergwijn, tries to get it back to Dumfries, but he just couldn't take the ball in his stride, and the ball eventually drifts out of play on this near side for an Ecuadorian throw.
He's just not, his close control's not been very good actually. His distribution's not been very good, Dumfries. He's got that energy, he's got that pace, got that willingness to get forward, but really lack that quality at the moment at the end of his play, as have the Dutch, to be honest. They're lucky to be ahead, you would have to say. It's that bit of extra quality.
Ball down the left-hand side. 3 minutes of additional time at the end of this first half as Estepinian tries to win a corner off Dumfries, but it just looped high in the air and stayed in play. And then Van Dijk finds Bergwijn, who was trying to pass whilst on the deck, having been clattered into by Ngapié, and you heard the referee's whistle for a Dutch free kick.
He's been excellent at that actually, Bergwijn. Back to goal. Made sure that as the ball's coming in, he just sticks that backside out, makes sure that it's difficult to get round as a defender. He's taking it in, his control's been good.
Ake receives the ball 25 yards out, looking for an option, goes left to Blind, back to Ake once again, and he rolls it back to his keeper Nopper, just floats it left-footed very neatly onto the thigh of Denzel Dumfries, but he's being hassled and harried by Estrada, and they're both shove into each other, and the referee says eventually that's a free kick to Ecuador. They've got time easily to work this into the box. We're into the 2nd minute of a minimum 3 that have been added on at the end of this first half, and I think they're going to put this in the mixer, as the phrase goes, Dean Ashton.
Yeah, I think so. Jurrien Timber though, he's aggressive, isn't he, in his defending. He's there getting involved, grappling before. He's had a couple of challenges, been lucky not to get a yellow card.
So what can Estepinian deliver here for Ecuador towards the end of minimum stoppage time to the end of this first half? The Dutch are holding their line just ahead of the 18-yard line. In comes the cross from Estepinian. Header goes in and it deflects behind for a corner kick. It was Valencia that came in, and he looks to the heavens as he lies on the deck, thinking he was denied by the Dutch deflection, because I think he thinks that was on target.
Well, I think it was. I think he thinks he's probably going to score here, and as he heads it, he just heads it right onto Ake's head, who just puts his head in the way, and it just bounces off the defender's forehead and away. He was lucky, he didn't know that was going to happen. Valencia, rightly so, was disappointed because he knew that was going to test the goalkeeper.
Now let's see if Plata's delivery is any better from this corner kick that you noted, Dean Ashton, that his delivery has not been up to standard.
He's got one last chance.
And then you're hooking him. Left-footed in, swinging to come from Gonzalo Plata of Valladolid. It's 1-0 to Holloway, edging towards half-time on TalkSport 2. The 3 minutes are nearly up. In it comes from Plata again. It's not a great corner. Fired back in and deflected in. Oh my goodness, it's 1-1. And Pervis Estepinian is the player wheeling away in celebration. He got the touch to divert it past Noppert and into the net. But now they're looking imploringly at a flag on the far side, are they? Is it going to be ruled out? Well, there's no flag from the official on the far side. Estepinian looks at the referee. Is it in or is it not? At the moment, it's 1-1.
Well, I mean, it's a fantastic strike from Preciado on the edge of the box. Is there a player in the way of the goalkeeper? I think that's the big question, as Estepinian just flicks it instinctively into the goal. It's just whether there's a player, and I think it was Perozo in front of the goalkeeper's eye line, and that must be what it's been given for.
It's been ruled out. Perozo in the eye line of Andries Noppert.
I'm not actually sure he's directly in the eye line, but the problem he's got is that Estepinian flicks it and it goes one side of Perozo and the goalkeeper's the other side.
Well, whistles from the Ecuadorian fans greet the half-time whistle from the referee, because Ecuador thought they had snatched an equaliser right on half-time, and Estepinian's just having explained to him by the FIFA officials on this near touchline why it's not been given. Other players come up to the Algerian referee from the South Americans to plead their case, but it's not going to change anything. But we're back underway. Holland in all orange, kicking from right to left as we look towards their more vociferous supporters away to the left-hand end of the Al Khalifa Stadium. Ecuador, dark blue shirts, white shorts and socks, in their change strip from the yellow that they wore against Qatar. And it's Noppert in goal for the Dutch. Timber, Van Dijk, Ake in the back three, Dumfries, Koopmeiners, De Jong, Blind in midfield, Klaassen, Gakpo and now Depay up front. For Ecuador, Galindez the keeper, Torres, Hincapié and Perozo at the back, Preciado, Plata, Mendes, Caicedo and Estepinian in midfield, Valencia and Estrada up front. And straight away the Algerian referee Mustafa Khoral has given a free kick to the Dutch, and we'll see whether Memphis Depay can make an impact. Bergwijn wasn't exactly quiet, but not exactly front and centre, because as we mentioned, apart from Gakpo's shot on target, the Dutch didn't create a great deal.
No, they didn't. He looked sharp in his hold-up play, but didn't look a threat, and that's not good enough for a Dutch side. I mean, Ecuador are a good side, but still, they would expect to have more attempts, to look more threatening, and yeah, I think if we say like for like, I'm pretty sure if we said that to Depay, he'd laugh in our faces.
Yes.
I think he believes, and the stats back it up, he's a top player.
Free kick for Ecuador, sent into the edge of the Holland penalty area, headed away, but it's picked up by Plata. Hits a lovely diagonal ball into the box, but out comes Noppert, claims well, coming outside his 6-yard box. And you know when Andreas Noppert's coming out to claim a ball, because He's almost as wide as he is tall. Ball down the left-hand side, trying to get Depay away. Just couldn't keep it in play. It was right on the touchline as it dropped out of the sky. And so it's a throw to Ecuador in their own defensive third. So Ecuador, having kept 7 consecutive clean sheets after a 1-1 draw with Argentina in March, have finally been breached. It's a national record, that is. So they've got that to show for it, even if they are behind here to that early strike in the first half from Gakpo. Trying to win the ball in the middle of the Ecuadorian half, but the South Americans win a throw off Daley Blind. And Preciado is collecting the ball from this near touchline just next to the technical area, looking for an option ahead of him. He was pretty much man of the match against Qatar, wasn't he, Angelo Preciado, the right back?
Yeah, he got my nod to Adrian Durham's dismay after 2 goals from Enner Valencia.
And Noppert just cleared in the nick of time away from an onrushing Michael Estrada. And Estrada wins it back now. A chance for Ecuador at the edge of the area. It's Estepinian, great save, follow-up is in. The arms go up for offside, but no flag this time. And wouldn't you just know it, Enner Valencia has now scored Ecuador's last 6 World Cup goals. He gets them level. They're going to wheel away in celebration this time, having been denied at the end of the first half. The South Americans are level, and they all look to the heavens and rejoice as Enner Valencia levels it up at the Al Khalifa. Netherlands won, Ecuador won.
And this has all come from Ecuador's fantastic counter-pressing. They lose the ball to start with after a half-decent attack, and then they just press straight away to win that ball back. And then as quick as that, and then down the left-hand side. It's a brilliant shot to start with, and I have to say, Robert in the Dutch goal will rightly be annoyed because he makes such a great save and he's thinking, where's my defender there, just to mop up the save. Instead, of course, the experience of Enner Valencia, the World Cup specialist Enner Valencia, just times his run into the area and has got the simplest of tasks of just tapping it in. It's about the timing of that run from Enner Valencia. He didn't go too early to make sure he was offside, and he just taps it.
Nathan Ake was playing Valencia onside. That much is clear. The Ecuadorian supporters go potty, and it's all square. And Group A's got interesting again on TalkSport 2. And Valencia was just making a little signing gesture, like signing a contract. Of course, he's doing brilliantly for Fenerbahce this season. He's the top scorer in the Turkish Superliga with 13 before the World Cup break. And that is, as I say, the last 6 World Cup goals across 2014 and this tournament have been scored by the former Everton West Ham man. It's 1-1.
No, he's a man for the big stage, that's for sure. And when I think back, actually, Nathan Ake had the opportunity to follow him in and follow the shot in himself. He decided he was going to try and step up and play Valencia offside from that initial shot.
Yes.
He was ready for that shot to come in, Ake, and thought, I'm going to step up, catch him offside. He didn't do it quick enough, and in the end he played him on.
Well, Ecuador deserved that based on the way they've come back into this game, but here come the Dutch down the left-hand side, trying to work the ball into the area. It was Depay trying to make room, but Ecuador get it clear. Suddenly the Netherlands have got to up the tempo of 1-1. So Valencia hot to trot once again for the South Americans. That's his 38th goal in 76 appearances for his country. Ake hits a long ball downfield looking for Memphis Depay, but Torres heads it away from him. They can't prevent the corner despite Cardozo's best efforts. So a corner for the Netherlands away to our left hand side, and a chance to pack the box here at 1-1.
Yeah, it's now down to the Netherlands. Does Van Gaal make any more changes? Does that liven them up? I've been disappointed with them, so whether they are relaxed thinking, well, they've already got a victory on the board, not after the result from Senegal especially.
Here comes the corner, deep to the far post. It's flicked away by Estrada and helped out the area. Lovely flick to get Estepinian away down the left-hand side, but across came Koopmeiners and put it out to play for a throw. No nonsense from Koopmeiners there, 1-1.
Yeah, he's been excellent at that, actually, Koopmeiners. He's been that solid defensive midfield player, because Frenkie de Jong, he looks more to get the ball, to dribble, to pass forward.
Preciado lost the ball. So in the early running for the Golden Boot at this World Cup, Valencia's stolen a march on everybody. First player to 3 goals at this tournament. Now, where was he in the odds before everything got underway?
Someone I'm sure will have put a penny or two on Eder Valencia.
I bet you there won't be many West Ham or Everton fans in the based on his goal return for those two sides. He worked hard for both West Ham and Everton, but the goals just didn't come when he was there. But as I mentioned, 13 for Fenerbahce this season already in that insanely competitive Turkish league. He's brought them level here to make this game very, very interesting indeed. Now, Gakpo trying to work his way down the right-hand side. Thought he won a corner, but the assistant indicates that it's a goal kick. 25-1, my producer reliably informs me, was Eder Valencia's price before a ball was kicked. That's not too skinny.
No. I suppose he's shown he can score in the World Cup. I think that always, would influence.
Well, it is all square, and Senegal will be looking on with intrigue, because that would mean that when Senegal and Ecuador meet, Ecuador will only need a point to stay ahead of the African side. So Aliou Cissé and his team would have to go all out to get the 3 points if things stay as they are here. And I remind you that the Netherlands have never lost a World Cup match when they've been in front at half-time. So Ecuador would have to make history in order to go 6 points from a possible 6. But they played well, and they're in possession with Preciado on this near side. 1-1 the score. Valencia the goal scorer. 10 yards from the corner flag on this near side. Receives it from Preciado, rolls it back to Caicedo, who looks to poke it through for Preciado again at the byline, but he just couldn't wrap his foot round it before it went over for a goal kick to the Netherlands. And Louis van Gaal takes a sip of his bottle of water, and it stays 1-1 on TalkSport 2. 10 minutes gone in the second half. Valencia equalising 4 minutes after the restart, and it was Gakpo who gave the Dutch the lead 6 minutes into the first half. Ian Danter and Dean Ashton with you. Balls with Frenkie de Jong. Asked Depay to come short to the halfway line. Got dispossessed by Jackson Mendes. Now the ball's rolled through, looking for Valencia. Tackles flying in. Very heavy challenge from Mendes. Balls up to halfway, and Gakpo showing great strength to get away from one chance, but then loses out. Eventually the whistle goes for a free kick for a foul by Nkapie on Cody Gakpo. And if Jackson Mendes escapes a yellow card for that earlier challenge, he's a lucky boy.
Yeah, he is. I think Nkapie, though, just held Gakpo back enough as he tried to get away, and then there was a secondary challenge, but you're right, there's a card coming out, and who is that for?
If it's for Jackson Mendes, then he will not play against Senegal. Just looking to see who he's issued it to. It is indeed Jackson Mendes. Well, it was something of a surprise, in fairness, Dean, that he got the nod as the defensive midfielder in front of Carlos Guerezo of Augsburg. So there's a ready-made replacement and a more experienced replacement who can come in for Mendes.
But he has been excellent. I was so impressed with him in that first game. He was close to my player of the match, but in this he's been excellent also. But yeah, that's a blow for him personally, especially.
Coming up on an hour on TalkSport 2. The Netherlands won, Ecuador won. The Dutch have a free kick sent into the area, headed out strongly by Valencia, the man that got the equaliser for Latry. Poked down for Preciado, who clears, loops it high downfield, just asking Estrada to give chase, and he forced Cody Gakpo, who's back the last man defending, to put it out for a throw. What's he doing back there?
I don't know, that's a couple of times now in this match. He's found himself back there defending, whether that's a conscious thing or not, but what a great attribute to have, to spot danger or to be willing to get back and help your team out.
Don't forget England USA tonight on TalkSport, 7 o'clock kickoff. All the build-up will start from 6 from our bites with Adrian Durham, Jim Cranford, Stuart Pearce, Faye Carruthers, as Gareth Southgate's men look to win their first 2 games of this World Cup. Ecuador in possession at 1-1, level with the edge of the Dutch penalty area. On the near side, the right, Preciado trying a couple of step-overs, a bit of bendy legs, then wraps the foot round the cross, edge of the area, shot comes in, it's blocked, comes out to Plata, off the underside of the bar and away. Now Valencia picks it up left-hand side of the area, tries to clip it back in, it's hooked away in panic mode by the Dutch defence, and Ecuador were within a whisker of taking the lead at Al Khalifa, and Gonzalo Plata can't believe that the woodwork denied him.
No, he can't come much closer. It all started with Preciado on this right-hand side, a few Elvis moves just to displace Blind, his footwork, and then just fired it across, and again it was Valencia who had the first shot, and then it ricocheted back to Plata, and he quickly moved it onto his left foot and then hit a brilliant strike across Nobber into the crossbar, down onto the floor. So unlucky.
That was as sweet a strike from Plata as the goal that Gakpo scored right at the start of proceedings.
Yeah.
But it didn't bounce anywhere near the goal line. It was a good foot ahead of Noppert's goal. So we play on at 1-1. Very intriguing match indeed, and a good game. Dutch trying to win a corner. Caicedo somehow prevented it. Not sure whether it did in fact go over the dead ball line, but the throw's been given on that far side. 1-1.
But again, it's another performance from the Netherlands that hasn't impressed. They got past Senegal very, very late after a poor performance. It's been the same so far tonight. You'd have to say if Ecuador do go on and win it at the moment, they would fully deserve it.
Klaassen on the far right-hand touchline. Dumfries is trying to wriggle his way through. The free kick's been given anyway Ecuador's way. Big high fives with those Ecuadorian players like Valencia and Caicedo and Estepinian all getting involved. Big high fives, loving every challenge that they win and every free kick they earn.
Well, I mean, for such a young group, but when you're a young group, you've come through the youth national side. I'm sure they've got a great relationship, so many of them, and they've brought that to this senior national side, and you can see there's just a real togetherness about them.
You're dead right, Dean Ashton. Gustavo Alvaro went for youth at the start of the gruelling World Cup qualification campaign for Ecuador. They ended up with 27 goals to their name. Fantastic effort across 18 games. And they're coming forward again with Estepinian. Plays the ball across the face of goal. Blind hits the ball against Preciado, who can't retrieve it before it goes over the line for a goal kick. It's still 1-1, but the momentum is most definitely with the Ecuadorians.
Yeah, I think they can sense it as well. There's no urgency from the Dutch. You know, the possession that they've got, it's so slow, and with such a good press that Ecuador have, they will just pick that off.
Van Dijk hits a long raking ball downfield, but it won't find Depay. Very easily won in the air by Paroso. I remind you that Ecuador are ranked 44th in the world The Dutch are in the top 10, they're 8th. But quite often at the World Cup, the rankings don't mean a great deal, as Saudi Arabia proved, as Japan have proved, as Iran have tried to prove at this World Cup. And now Ecuador pushing the Netherlands all the way. But here come the Dutch, inside left channel at 1-1. Daley Blind rolls it infield to Memphis Depay, coming short to pick up possession. Klaasen's gone ahead of him, still has it, Depay up to the edge of the area, plays a 1-2, almost rolled through from brilliant skill, but then a foot in from Felix Torres kept it out of harm's way for Ecuador. Now they hook it up to halfway, and Estrada's giving chase. He won't beat Van Dijk very often, and Van Dijk stood his ground, won the ball and cleared it for Holland. Blind plays the ball into Depay, tried to flick it round the corner and chase his own flick, but Torres got something on it. And again, it's just a long hoof downfield from Ecuador, and Valencia up against Timber, left-hand corner of the area, driving into the box, pulls it back. Estrada couldn't get the strike he wanted. Ake did enough to cut him off as the cross came in, but more danger in the Dutch penalty area. 1-1.
Well, they look more dangerous, Ecuador, when they go forward. With that pace that they've got, moving that back three out of position, you're right, Ake does really well. He steps across and just about blocks the shot from Estrada. I don't think it would have been a great shot anyway, as he was swivelling and swinging his left foot at it, but then it just took the sting out of it with Ake coming across. But it seems like every attack Ecuador have, they look dangerous, and the Dutch look a bit stodgy in their attempts to go forward.
Asteen Ashton, you can hear alongside me, Ian Danter, former England striker. Not me, I'm not the former England striker, it's me. just in case you were any doubt. It's the Netherlands 1, Ecuador 1 on TalkSport 2. A really intriguing second half in progress here, and as Dean has already intimated, the Dutch have got to step it up here. They've got to find another gear or two. Here is Nathan Ake, who's pushed forward to the midway point of the Ecuadorian half, rolls it right for Timber out to Dumfries on the right wing. Dumfries just holds play up for a moment. He's got Estepinian stopping him getting down that byline, so he goes back to his own half, and the whistles go up around Al Khalifa. Ake again receives it on halfway, just to the left of centre, drifts away from Plata. Blind is calling for it just to his left. Lindo has to give it back to Klaasen, who's now defending in his own half. Nice total football. Remember that from the Dutch, they can play in any position they like. It's not quite that here, but you see a bit of variation. Now Klaasen's at the left-hand edge of the area, finds Gakpo, tees it up for a shot from the edge of the area from De Jong, but he got right underneath it. That was Koopmeiners, forgive me, who had the final shot. But too much loft on the club. It's a goal kick to Ecuador, one apiece.
I'm pretty sure they would have preferred De Jong on the end of that. It was good play. Klaasen into Gakpo, just laid it off nicely with the outside of his foot into the path of Koopmeiners, who then just with his left foot was looking to stroke that past the goalkeeper, but instead got way too much lace rather than the side of the foot.
It wasn't just high, it was wide as well from Koopmeiners. And a goal kick for Ecuador as Memphis Depay just closed down Felix Torres. The ball deflected behind. You can hear the Dutch drums beating, but compared to the noise that the Japanese fans were, I felt sorry for the drum that they had asking them to sing along, because that drum was getting some fearful hammering. But the Japanese fans were amazing. Do you know they cleaned up after themselves?
Oh, fantastic.
Not only did the Japanese team clean up their dressing room and leave it spotless, but there were pictures of Japanese supporters on the terraces picking up any detritus that anybody left around. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's real class.
More of that, please. Virgil van Dijk collides with Estrada, who's gone down in a heap. Well, certainly Estrada, who is the aggressor. He seems to have come off worse. He's made of granite, isn't he, Virgil van Dijk?
I'm pretty sure I just spotted a tiny bead of sweat on his forehead.
Give over. Don't talk nonsense. We get the beads of sweat just for walking down the road, right? You get a shine on. It's 1-1 on TalkSport 2. Lovely to have you with us. Don't forget England-USA, 7 o'clock tonight. More changes being readied by Louis van Gaal. That Steven Berghuis is going to be coming on shortly. We'll wait and see. Meantime, Ecuador got some defending to do. Ball's bouncing around the edge of their penalty area. Poroso heads half clear, and then Preciado tries to volley it downfield but shanks it horribly out to this near touchline. Blind lets it roll out of play for a throw. It's one apiece, remember. The Dutch won their first game, so too did Ecuador, so they will both go on to 4 points if things stay as they are. Senegal on 3, Qatar on 0, going into the final round of group games, which is Netherlands-Qatar and Ecuador-Senegal. Plenty to be decided in this group as things stand, Dean Ashton.
Well, you just wonder just how much emphasis Louis van Gaal will want to put on winning this game. You know, with the changes that he could possibly make, is he going to try and sit on this result or not? And again, why have Ecuador gone back into their shells a bit? They've sat really deep since the goal. I just don't see why.
Yeah, they're there for the taking, you would say. 20 minutes to go on TalkSport 2. Anybody's game this. Netherlands 1, Ecuador 1. Throw to Ecuador on the far side of the field from us, down the left-hand side. But the changes can be made. It is indeed Steven Berghuis that's coming on, and Dade Klaassen has scored that very late second goal against Senegal. He's being withdrawn, and Steven Berghuis of Ajax play as a winger or an attacking midfielder. He's coming on, plays his club football for Ajax, having left Feyenoord. That's always a fairly controversial move that a Dutch player can make. But he's on in place of Klaassen for these last, 20 minutes? Well, I say 20 minutes. Could easily be half an hour. Let's see what the Algerian referee adds on when we get to 90 minutes. Now, Ecuador trying to nick the ball down the left-hand side for Gonzalo Plata, but tied it up with a minimum of fuss by Virgil van Dijk. Noppert finds Ake. He runs away from the edge of his own penalty area. This will go up again. I think it's for the Ecuador fans rather than for the Dutch fans complaining about the lack of tempo. Yeah. The Dutch are being very, very patient here. Now they go a little quicker into the feet of Berghuis, just on Gakpo rather. Plays it out to the right-hand side, and Timber works in field for Gakpo down the right-hand side of the box. Berghuis scrapping for the ball with Nkapie. The Dutch have given up possession. Ecuador trying to bring it downfield. There's a push, is there? Gakpo pushed his man. Estepinian went down. Free kick to Ecuador.
I always think these are the ones where you're lucky to get away without a yellow card, when you're stopping the opposition to go on a real counter-attack, which is exactly what Gakpo just did. He just clipped the heels of Estepinian as he was away.
It's a big old forearm in the back of Pervis Estepinian, but it doesn't earn Cody Gakpo a yellow card. So we play on. 18 minutes to go. Netherlands 1, Ecuador 1 on TalkSport 2. 4 more games tomorrow. We start here on TalkSport 2 at 10 a.m. with Tunisia against Australia. Tunisia got a point. Australia got hammered by the French. Mark Wilson and David Connolly will bring you that game. And then 3 games back-to-back on TalkSport. 1 o'clock Poland, Saudi Arabia. 4 o'clock France against Denmark. 7 o'clock Argentina against Mexico. Plus game day breakfast live from Qatar between 6 and 10 tomorrow morning. Natalie Sawyer and Tony Cascarino live from our studios here in Qatar. There's a change being ready by Ecuador. Meantime they have a throw bang on halfway. Angelo Preciado gets it back from Plata, just lobs it downfield. It bounces towards the corner flag, but Estrada tried his best to keep it in play, but it was always going to be a hard task for him. Throw to Holland, but not before the change is made, I think, by Ecuador, because the referee's keeping his whistle repeatedly. We're just seeing a replay of the equaliser showing just how far onside Eder Valencia was, despite huge protests from the Dutch players. But then that's ingrained in defenders, isn't it, to put the arms up when a goal goes in. Kind of hardwired. Left-hand side for Ecuador, they're coming forward. Van Dijk, half clears, drops at the edge of the area. Snapshot is blocked. Just gets away from Valencia. And Capier gets in front of Dumfries. He wants a foul, but only a throw in his gear in the Dutch way.
Well, he's let a lot go, hasn't he, this referee?
Now the Dutch are coming forward down the right-hand side. Suddenly Gakpo's in, chips the keeper, and he's gone well wide of the goal. Suddenly everything seemed to stop from the Ecuadorian point of view, and Gakpo was away. Flag stayed down. Out came the goalkeeper, Galindez. And Gakpo, well, he was way off.
Well, and that's why they've stopped. That's why Ecuador players have just completely stopped, because he was a good 7 yards offside.
1-1 it stays on TalkSport 2. And here comes the change for Ecuador, and Brighton's Jeremy Sarmiento got a substitute appearance against Qatar, and the same tonight. Well, that's a midfielder for a striker, Dean Ashton, so that tends to suggest that they're being a bit more circumspect at this point.
Yeah, I think what they might do is, I think Caicedo might go a bit deeper alongside Mendes, and then Plata will probably flank Valencia with Sarmiento on the either side, just to give a bit more of a threat. I think he'll play on the left-hand side.
Well, we've got 3 Seagulls out there now. Sarmiento was Brighton's Young Player of the Year last year. He actually played in the World Cup qualifier before he made his Premier League debut. So he's out there for Ecuador, as down goes Poroto under pressure from Berghaus and wins a free kick. Time ticks away still further. Last quarter of an hour on TalkSport 2. Louis van Gaal has got his notepad out, looking for that winning formula that can earn 3 points and make it maximum return from 2 games. The free kick smacked downfield by the Ecuadorian goalkeeper Galindez. Valencia went for a header, didn't win it. Preciado keeps it in Pernas near side for a moment, but it went out of play for a throw.
He just keeps whacking everything, Preciado. Everything he's done in the last 15 minutes, he's just whacked it.
Yes, it's not stood on ceremony, has it?
I wonder whether, fatigue will start to play a part. That's where it's so key now, with having the 5 substitutions, that managers can get it right. They can turn a game with the decisions they make.
This is what 5 substitutions is all about, isn't it? The ability to change almost half your team over the course of a 90-minute match is becoming more and more significant. Saw what Japan did by making the changes they did against Germany, and how it worked for them in the second half. Here's Ake on halfway at 1-1 in the last quarter of an hour on TalkSport 2. Good foot in from Poroto to win it back, but then slightly heavy touch, but well won by Mendes to get away from De Jong. Out to the left-hand side it goes in Estepina. Sarmiento, his club colleague, is just out there with him. All 3 Brighton players had a touch in a row. Caicedo works it back into his own half for Hincapié. Now Torres.
Yeah, just again that broke down for the Dutch, because Depay was just weak. He doesn't look fit, to be honest. He's been really poor since coming on.
There was a rumour he was going to start today. Obviously that hasn't come to pass, and he's had to wait his turn, but he's had very little influence on this game since coming on. And now the Netherlands have conceded a free kick on halfway, to be taken by Jason Mendes, who, as we mentioned, with the booking he's received today, will not be eligible to play against Senegal in what is, as it stands, set to be a crunch match for both countries. But just the point that the Netherlands are earning here, that doesn't make them entirely safe. Ball played up to the edge of the Dutch area, headed away by Ake. Headed up in the air by Koopmeiners. Then it's won by Pervis Estupiñán. Good foot in from the Dutch, but it goes out of play for a throw to Ecuador on the far side. 13 minutes to go. There's a winner in this for somebody, Dean Ashton.
Oh, there is that. And I mean, if it comes from Ecuador, that really does change the face of this group. And certainly who could finish top, you know, that's very much up for grabs.
A couple more subs we can see having a little chin wag with Louis van Gaal before they're sent on. One of them is a player who was in the Premier League last year, albeit briefly, Wout Weghorst of Burnley. He's going to be on shortly. Meanwhile, the ball's back with Hernan Galíndez, who has had very little to do other than pick the ball out the net from Cody Gakpo's early strike. Well, that's a pull ball out of defence by Torres. Puts it against his teammate Caicedo, but then he's rescued by Estupiñán, who wins the ball back. Neat touch from Sarmiento. Ball's up to halfway. They're trying to look flicks and tricks here. Ecuador, not all of them are coming off, but they have won a free kick on the edge of the centre circle as Mendes was brought down by Timber.
And he just gives away another free kick. Timber is just so physical and aggressive in the way that he defends. Probably a good thing actually that he stopped that counter-attack. They're so good at that, aren't they, Ecuador? When they do win it and then they start to flood forward with that energy and flair.
So Koopmeiners and Gakpo are coming off, and the players coming on for the Dutch. Martin de Roon of Atalanta is coming on, and as we mentioned, Wout Weghorst, who's playing on loan at the moment at Besiktas from Burnley. He's on to add a bit of beef up front for the Dutch. Bit of no-nonsense centre-forward play, which you know all about, Dean Ashton.
He keeps it simple, doesn't he? We know what we're going to get from him.
Oh, here comes Valencia down the left-hand side. It's Estupiñán rather. Valencia's in the box along with Preciado wanting a cross. Tight break down by the corner flag for Estupiñán, and he wins a corner in the end off de Roon, who's only just come on as a sub. Ecuador pushing again. 1-1, they have a corner.
Yeah, it's the Ecuadorian players that look a lot more likely to go on and win this game. I've been so impressed. Despite that first 15 minutes, they've been so good. They've been positive. They've looked to get forwards. Their pressing has been excellent again.
Massive players around the penalty spot as Estupiñán has the ball spotted on the quadrant. Left-footed outswinger to come from the Ecuadorian left wing-back. It's deep to the far post. Plata tries to go up for a header. Comes out to Preciado, who, as he's done throughout most of the second half, just puts his foot through it, gives it the hammer, but it goes way over the bar. Goal kick, 1-1.
I really like him. I really, really like him. He's all energy, he's got quality, but he just looks like he just needs to calm.
I've got a friend who's a supporter of Genk, where he plays his club football. He's desperate for him to have a poor tournament so he doesn't get sold in January.
Yeah, well, that's already out the window, I think.
Dean Ashton, scout, striker, radio broadcaster. Here is Barroso, clips it up to halfway. Well controlled by Plata. Worked back into midfield by Mendes. Now Hincapié gets his header. She approaches the halfway line. Mendes there again, along with the centre-halves. He did that a lot against Qatar when he was getting in between two centre-halves. Not quite as much room when there's three centre-halves out there. But nevertheless, he's getting involved into the centre circle. Sarmiento knocks it back for Felix Torres. Now Hincapié can stride over the halfway line, can he? No, he stops short of the halfway line, trying to fire it downfield for Valencia, but it skipped through and bobbed through to the goalkeeper, Nopper. Into the last 10 minutes then on TalkSport 2. Who's your money on? Netherlands or Ecuador? It's one apiece here. Ake sees the ball just shy of the halfway line. Out to the near touchline and Blind. Good ball in field. Good turn from Depay, but then he runs into Torres, who just hoofs it downfield. No nonsense. Asking Valencia to give chase. and he's forcing Timber to get the afterburners on to get there first and get it back to his keeper. 1-1.
Yeah, he works hard, doesn't he, Valencia? He's not, I mean, I know now he's 33, but he's still putting in a right good shift for his team, obviously with the captain's armband on as well, one of the senior figures at his side, leading by example. And as of yet, we're still not seeing any sort of a surge from the Dutch.
Ball played down the right-hand side, looking for Dumfries, but it's overhit. Another overhit ball down the right-hand side that Dumfries was never going to catch. Even if he was road runner, he wouldn't have got anywhere near. Goal kick to Ecuador.
Well, the question is, are they going to use that Weghorst in the manner that he should be used? Are they going to play it to him? Are they going to feed off him?
Well, there has to be a reason he's out there, rather than just as window dressing. Got to be there to serve a purpose, but he's not had a fight ball, if you like, played up to him up to this point. Goal kick sent downfield, headed up in the air by Preciado on halfway, so too by Poroso. Good foot in from Preciado on halfway. Here's Valencia in the right wing position. He's been all over this pitch this afternoon in Valencia. He's the all-time leading goal scorer for his country. 38 goals now in 76 appearances. And he has won a throw for Ecuador down this near side of the right. Preciado going to take it from just in front of his manager, who's barking out instructions as always, Gustavo Alvaro. As listeners from Talk Sport join us, we're into the last 10 minutes at the Al Khalifa Stadium, and it is all square between the Netherlands and Ecuador. 1-0 inside 6 minutes to the Dutch through a sweet strike from Cody Gakpo. But Enner Valencia early in the second half got Ecuador level after a shot was only pushed into his path by Nopper, the Dutch keeper. Ecuador had a goal ruled out right on half-time that they felt aggrieved about. Get to Dean Ashton alongside me in just a moment, but Ecuador are trying to break through Estepinian of Brighton, and then Dumfries goes down and he's fouled, so it's a free kick, and I can bring in Dean Ashton. So in these closing stages, this is truly anybody's game, Dean.
It is, but it feels like it's Ecuador's. They've been far the better team. When you see the 1-1, it's not been really, in terms of the way the game's gone. Ecuador have been excellent. The Dutch have been really poor. They've been slow, they've been sluggish, they've not offered a threat whatsoever other than the goal from Gakpo. I mean, they've had 2 attempts to Ecuador's 13, and another example of this young, exciting team from Ecuador.
A reminder of the difference in the rankings. Ecuador 44th in the rankings, the Dutch are 8th. Stay with us for this free kick. The Dutch have midway point of the Ecuadorian half, and the South Americans are holding the 18-yard line with their defensive line. Van Dijk's come forward for the free kick. Weghorst, who's just on as a sub, is up there too. In it comes. Poor free kick, headed away by the first defender. 3 minutes to go. Commentary continues to the conclusion on TalkSport 2. The Netherlands 1, Ecuador 1. So, the Dutch have it. We can tell you that England are unchanged for the game against the United States that gets underway on TalkSport at 7 o'clock. No changes from Gareth Southgate. There's an Ecuadorian player on his back in the centre circle. It's not a head injury, so the Dutch don't have to put it out of play. And they play on. Whistles go up around the stadium. Dumfries in the right wing hits the cross in. The keeper comes scurrying out to his near post to claim it and holds it to his chest gratefully. It's Valencia once again who's gone down. He went off with an injury towards the end of the first game, and we wondered, Dean Ashton, didn't we, whether he'd even play today.
Yeah, I was surprised he carried on in the game against Qatar, and obviously he's managed to declare himself fit for this game, and it's a good job he has, because he's got that goal to equalise, but he's probably a bit tired, isn't he? Well, Valencia's put a good shift in
Cool, blimey, yeah. He's got a bead of sweat on him, unlike Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah.
Now Valencia's getting some treatment. We are edging towards the last couple of minutes here at the Al Khalifa Stadium. Just a reminder, I mentioned England unchanged. They take on America. It's 7 o'clock kickoff over on TalkSport. And we also have 4 games for you tomorrow from the World Cup. Also Autumn Series Internationals from the Rugby Union, live on TalkSport 2. Wales, Australia at 2:45, followed straight afterwards by England against South Africa. FA Cup round 2 tomorrow, and we've got one of the pick of the fixtures which could see a shot. The Linnets of Kings Lynn taking on Steve Evans Stevenage. That's from noon here on TalkSport 2. John Dunn and Adrian Clark will be your commentary team in Norfolk. I don't know whether Kings Lynn was much of a breeding ground for Norwich talent, was it, back in the day?
Oh, I'm sure it would have been.
Yeah.
Sure it would have been.
And there are 4, as I mentioned, World Cup games tomorrow. We start at 10 o'clock here on TalkSport 2 with Tunisia, Australia before that FA Cup time. And then back to back on TalkSport from 1 o'clock. Poland against Saudi Arabia. France against Denmark. Argentina against Mexico. You missed none of the action here because Enner Valencia is still receiving treatment. And we're just seeing highlights on our monitors of the 2 goals that have been scored this game, both at the same end. Gakpo in the first half, Valencia in the second for 1-1. And he's just been put on a stretcher. Yeah, he's been brought out a number of times in this World Cup, and not many players have actually fancied sitting in it. But I think that means his race is run. Kevin Rodriguez is ready to come on, so too Romario Ibarra. So 2 strikers coming on for Ecuador. I wonder, as Enner Valencia has his hand over his face, whether that's his tournament done and dusted at 3 goals.
Well, I mean, we've not seen a challenge that was, visible that he hurt himself, so I don't know whether that's come on during the game, but he doesn't look happy, does he? That would be a huge blow.
It's the same knee that he was having trouble with against Qatar. And so Romario Ibarra, who plays his club football in Mexico with Pachuca, he comes on. The other player off is Gonzalo Plata to allow Kevin Rodriguez, who plays his club football in Ecuador with the Imabura side. Big tall striker, proper target man, much like Weghorst at the other end. So we're edging towards added time here on TalkSport 2. Valencia being helped towards the substitutes bench by a couple of physios, and the ice pack, the obligatory ice pack is being brought to go behind his left knee.
I've got a feeling he might be okay.
We're into 6 minutes of added time. That's underway now on TalkSport 2. Netherlands 1, Ecuador 1. Ake under pressure from Rodriguez, gives the ball back to Noppa, hits it against Rodriguez, and he goes behind for a goal kick. He's quick for a tall man, Kevin Rodriguez.
Yeah, and
he's a bit stiff, isn't he?
Noppert.
He doesn't look particularly comfortable on that right foot of his. No, good with the left. He's got a good ability with that one, but if it's played to his right, struggles.
Lovely header on from Dumfries. Weghorst giving chase down the Dutch right. It's won back by Felix Torres. Plays it down the left-hand touchline. Now Rodriguez is in a race with Van Dijk to get to the loose ball. Van Dijk got there first, but couldn't prevent the throw.
Well, no, Rodriguez thought he was in a race.
Well, he kind of kept up with him.
I think Van Dijk teased him. He made him think he had a chance, and then just at the last second, Van Dijk just extended those legs of his. But you're right, he still did well to win a throw,
which is in the hands of Pervis Estepinian, almost level with the Dutch penalty area. Stoppage time on TalkSport 2, 1 apiece between Netherlands and Ecuador. In it comes from Estepinian, flicked on by Sarmiento. Preciado tries to head it towards goal from inside the D. He could have swiveled and volleyed that if he wanted to, but he made it very easy for Noppert with a header that bounced once in front of the Dutch goalkeeper. 1-1.
Well, I mean, there's not been many headed goals from outside the penalty area, and that was never going to be one of them because there was no pace on the ball. So for him to think he could score from that position was typical of his performance in this second half, Preciado.
Ball's out of play on this near side for an Ecuadorian throw. He must have about 10 bags of ice around his knee, Ener Valencia. He's got a whole freezer compartment from Iceland wrapped round his right leg. But that's pretty much exactly what you had when you were sat on the bench after his performance against Qatar. So I think you're right, Dean Ashton. There's every chance we'll see him take to the field against Senegal in a few days' time. But there's still time to play out here. And here comes Kevin Rodriguez down the right wing, forcing Ake to put it out for a throw. Down by the corner flag. They're not done yet, the South Americans, at 1-1.
No, not at all. Been so disappointed with the Netherlands. I really have. I know they weren't great in the first game, but I thought the second game, as we warmed up, we'd see a better performance. They've been really disappointed, and I'll be lucky to get a point in this game if it stays that way.
With a short throw, picked up by Caicedo. Back to the right wing back, through the legs of Flint. Sarmiento takes over down by the corner flag. Little Jink tries to get away from De Jong, who's pressurising him down by the corner flag. Trying to win a corner. Ball's out of play. It's been given as an Ecuadorian throw. Much to De Jong's displeasure. Still play on. 6 minutes of minimum stoppage time have been added at the Al Khalifa Stadium. And Ecuador have the ball in the Dutch defensive third with a throw on the right-hand side, and they've won a corner. As Blint stuck out a left toe and toe poked it behind. How ambitious will Ecuador be in terms of sending defenders forward for this corner kick at 1-1?
Well, can they? Can they, as one of their supporters clasps his hand together, praying for another surprise in this World Cup?
Prayers are being offered up from those from South America in the stands. Torres has come forward. There are a few from the back in the penalty area. Rodriguez just on as a striker is there. Barroso, Hincapié, they're all in there. Sarmiento going to take the right-footed outswinger. Headed up in the air by Van Dijk. Where's he going to drop? Back with Sarmiento on the right wing. Trying to beat De Jong to it. Oh, he just trickled it out of play. And it's a Dutch throw. And that may well be that on TalkSport 2. It's 1-1.
Yeah, he was there again, wasn't he? Virgil van Dijk. He's been excellent tonight for the Dutch. And the towering header above everyone there when it was needed.
Into the last minute of the minimum 6 that's been added on by the Algerian referee. Ecuador have it again around the Dutch penalty area, but Blint whacks it clear. Goes over the head of Barroso, but it won't find Memphis Depay. Slightly awkward sky clearance by Torres, but flicked on well on the halfway line. Barroso nods it down. Preciado once again will try and hoof it downfield. Does find its target in Ibarra, but Ibarra's ball along the halfway line is intercepted by the Dutch. Van Dijk. How much urgency are the Dutch going to show in these last seconds to try and win it? They're pushing forward down the right-hand side. Dumfries can't get to it. Dispossessed by Estepinian, but a poor ball up to halfway, nowhere near Ibarra. Easily picked off. So Ake, in what must be the Netherlands' last chance of snatching all 3 points. Blint being held up by Preciado. And the referee decides that the 6 minutes is enough. And it's all square in this intriguing match in Group A. And the Netherlands have been pegged back by the Ecuadorians to make the third match day in this group so intriguing. 4 points for both these sides after 2 games. Gakpo gave the Dutch an early lead with a super swerving left-footed hit for his second goal at this World Cup. But then Ener Valencia trumped it with his third goal at this tournament early in the second half, firing home after a shot from the edge of the area had only been pushed out to him by Danny Noppert. So the full-time score, the Netherlands won, Ecuador won.